You are listening to the Cambridge Insider Podcast. In this back-to-school episode, hosts Mariah and Stephen share how the Cambridge Network supports schools, students, and host families. Today's episode is sponsored by Spartanburg Day School, an independent college preparatory 2 K-12 school located in South Carolina. Thanks for listening.
Cambridge Insider Podcast time. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cambridge Insider Podcast. As always, remember to like us, remember to subscribe to all of our various platforms and pages, and remember to invite anybody who you feel could benefit from the great stuff that we are sharing. The Cambridge Insider Podcast. My co-host, as always, Mariah Thompson. How are you?
I'm doing well. Getting ready to, I've never been to our Cambridge offices before, and I'll go next week because I onboarded as an employee during COVID, so I never made it up to Cambridge. So looking forward to that, to seeing a little deeper inside of behind the scenes of everything.
Very, very cool. I've been there a couple times. It's a cool place to visit. It's also a nice little town, Cambridge, for those of you that haven't visited. So, if you do make your way out there and enjoy your time, but I'm sure you're going to be busy with work, Mariah.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you'll have a little time off. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about back to school. It is that season, believe it or not. You blink and the summer's gone, right? But we wanted to make sure that from a student perspective, from a school partner perspective, even from a host family perspective, I suppose that everybody listening is aware of, what going back to school means. Are we prepared? What are the things that we have to remember to do? This season is a season of opportunity, I think, for students, for schools, for hosts. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. I'm going to kick us straight off because I want to talk a little bit about schools and, what they should be looking at, what they should be focusing on as specifically the international students start to, filter back into the school and onto the campus. So I think first and foremost, from a school strategy point of view, a couple things that are important. The start of the school year in the fall generally represents the start of the recruitment season as well. So there's a couple things there. Make sure that your student recruitment plan has been completed and has been submitted to Cambridge Network. If you haven't received one of those, simply reach out to Cambridge. Make sure that we know how many students you want to be recruiting, how many seats you have available, in which grades those seats are. Just going over the technicalities of student recruitment. Really, really important. Something very basic, but it does indicate to us from our side that the school is open and willing to be marketed abroad. We generally don't market schools until we receive that plan, until we have an idea of what you can offer and the amount of students that you can technically have on your campus. So that's an important part. I think the second part, and I spoke a little bit about this, is the kickoff of the recruitment season. It's a great time of the year to think a little bit about, number one, what is your strategy for this fall recruitment season? Mm-hmm. Technically, the biggest season when it comes to international recruitment. The peak months are a little bit later, but now's a really, really good time to start thinking about strategy. So how did recruitment go last year? Did I meet my goals? Did I not meet my goals? What are some of the things that we got involved in? What did we not get involved in? And also just to go through some of the information we send, I want to say almost weekly, but let's call it bi-weekly or monthly updates on what's happening at Cambridge. What are some of the solutions that we're offering as an organization to our school partners? Everything from Cambridge Enhanced Marketing to some of our, less known sort of benefits of being a partner as well. But we do mention a lot of those. So start thinking about strategy. If you haven't considered on some level an enhanced marketing or paid for marketing, trying to get onto digital media, or digital marketing space, it really should be something that at least you're having a conversation about. Everybody's back on campus, got a head of school, you perhaps got a head of the enrollment department, start having these conversations. These are important things to know about now because it's going to give you a plan of action on how to attack this recruitment season, but it's also going to be able to help you to set your expectations realistically. The last thing that we want is a school to plan for 10 new students, come next year, but they haven't really thought about how they're going to get there. The final thing, and then I'm going to give it over to Mariah because I feel like I've gone on a little bit long, but the final thing is this is also a great time, to start planning about your content, your marketing, what pictures and videos do you have available? make sure that Cambridge have those pictures, those videos, all of that great content that you're creating. Is that content good enough for the market as it is? Is it geared towards international students? Does it require maybe an update in the season? Or is there some new information maybe that you just haven't passed along to Cambridge? So, also thinking that you have students on campus for the first time, this may be a good time to involve them in creating some good content that we can push out through our channels. So a couple of things for schools to be aware of, but really important planning, season and a lot of opportunities out there.
Stephen, what for schools that might be new to Cambridge or just need a refresher since we've had some restructure, who are some of their main contact Cambridge people that they can contact if they do have any questions about how we run digital marketing, or if there's anything specific about a student going on within their school? Who can be someone that they can reach out to?
Absolutely. So the majority of schools, your contact would be your SSA. Every school knows who their SSA is. The great thing about Cambridge is that we're super, super collaborative. So when in doubt, email myself, email Mariah. We're happy to pass that along to the right person. We might be the right people in that case. But for most schools, I would say the easiest would just be go to your SSA, email them with, any questions that you might have. They'd be able to pass that on. If it is specifically got to do with marketing and Cambridge Enhanced Marketing, absolutely, myself and Mariah would be able to help you and to guide you through that process. Many schools have a couple of other contacts, some specifically for student issues, like your FEA, your Family Education Advisor, would be your specific student contact. But some schools aren't, aware of all these different contacts. Some schools also have a school email group. It'd be the school name at cambridgenetwork.com. But if you aren't aware of those, like I say, reach out to any of your, or reach out to your main contact, and we'd certainly be able to put you in touch with the correct person. Awesome. Great. Mariah, I'm going to, simply because you just know this stuff way better than I do, I'm going to pass it back over to you, because we've spoken a little bit about schools. I want to pass it to you as a student, even perhaps as a host family, back to school. What does that mean? What should we be looking out for?
Yeah, so Cambridge, we like to support all the main stakeholders within our company, especially on the U.S. side, which is our schools, host families, and students. And as we've had a restructure, we've figured out the best way that we can still support all these areas that are really needed, and developed really great strategy and implementations between virtual events and webinars, and then on the ground level support to the schools, hosts, and students. So I'm just going to fill us in on what we are doing. Stephen, if you have any questions, if you need a deep dive on something, just feel free to ask. As well, if you have any questions yourself on any services, feel free to just comment on the post below, and we'll go, I'll just respond to you, go in a deep dive on whatever you would like to know about our services. You can also email us as well to get that information. But the first thing I want to talk about is our student care. We have several different avenues for students to seek extra help, to feel a little bit more prepared within this new atmosphere for them, whether they're a new student or a returning student. We want them to feel supported, feel like they're not here alone. And so the first and the most important support for a student is their FEA, like Stephen mentioned before, which is a family education advisor. They are not only English speaking support, but they also are a native language speaker to that student. So sometimes for a student who's learning a new language like English, they can't really communicate fully what they're trying to say or how they feel. So having someone that speaks the native language to them really helps us understand the problem or the challenge that they are facing. So each student has an FEA that also is communicating with that student's host family, but then also their natural parents. So they're the main connection for the whole sphere of student connection within the company. Now, that person is typically in another country, not here in the U.S., so we still do have U.S. support for the student. We have our host family support team that is helping hosts if they have any emergencies. They have a hotline they can call, as well as they will be holding host webinars monthly to help them support in any challenges, teach them new things that we are doing, new initiatives for the students, as well as the host. So we do have that U.S. support.
Mariah, sorry, I do just want to comment there because I think it's something that's come up quite a lot with many of our partners. When we made that change initially to move a lot of our support to our FEA team, there were a lot of concerns. And I think having been in the situation now or run on that structure for what has it been, almost a year now, I would guess maybe a little more, a little less, but we've just seen an incredible response from students who are the primary reason why we offer support, who are able to connect with somebody in their native tongue, who feel a little bit more comfortable on the language side to be able to say, this is something that I'm struggling with. How do I deal with that? And then for that FEA to be able to take that information and transfer it again in the native tongue to a natural parent to say, this is some of the things that, the student's struggling with. These are some of the action plans that we've put in place. So, I know that was a concern early on, but it's something that, we supported fully and that we committed to fully. And it's just been an absolute game changer on the level of student support. So I want everybody to rest assured that this is by far the best way to support our students.
Yeah, it's definitely helped us as internally teams to work better with each other too, because we're in constant communication. How do we help support each other to best support the students, the hosts, and the parents? So it's been good for us all around. So that's great. And then there is one more level of support to the student. So there are some times where we do have the emergencies that we do need a Cambridge support in person. So we have local support coordinators that we have hired that we contact to go in and do that emergency support if need be. If there's any mental health issues or if there's an issue with the host family and they need the student to move due to death in the family or anything that's happening that they can no longer host, we do have someone in the U.S. who is there to help support those students too. So yes, we do have people here in the U.S. that are going to be there to help take care of those students in their home, away from home. So we're really looking forward to see a bigger launch in the LSCs this year. Within the transition, we had the support we needed, but this year, coming up school year, we have hired more. So we're hoping to utilize them in deeper ways than even just emergency too. So you can be on the lookout for different events and different outreaches your LSC in your area will be doing.
Absolutely. Awesome stuff. So exciting information. Like I said, you blink your eyes and it's the start of school. I would just urge everybody, schools, hosts, students, families, when you're in doubt, make sure to reach out. We have an incredible team that's looking after our students, that's looking after our schools and our school partnerships and our host families. We just want to make sure you feel supported, because when you feel supported, that leads to ultimate student success. And student success on the flip side leads to schools, having that brand and being able to recruit more quality students. So we all work together and we can be super, super successful. Mariah, any sort of final thoughts from your side as we close this episode out for the day?
Yeah, I do. We'll have to do another episode on this because we do have another layer of support for students, which is our Cambridge Care, which is community, accessibility, resources, and engagement, which is like that extra layer of support added on to the services that we do that really do help our students. So we'll have to go in a deep dive into that some other time so our schools can hear more about that.
Awesome stuff. Well, look out if you are interested in Cambridge Care. If it's something that you have a need for, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, look out, on the Cambridge Insider podcast. We'll be dealing with that in the coming weeks as well. Mariah, as always, I appreciate your expertise. To all of our listeners, we appreciate you listening along. Remember to like, listen, subscribe, share the podcast. That's what it's all about. And we'll catch you around the next episode of the Cambridge Insider podcast. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Cambridge Insider podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel to never miss an episode. For more Cambridge updates, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Have a great week and stay connected.